Hey kids! God is so good. In the past few lessons, what we have learned showed me something. God always tells the truth. He keeps his promises. He told Adam and Eve he would one day send a Savior, and he sent Jesus. He told Noah that he would destroy the earth with a flood. He did what he said. But God also made a promise to Noah that he would never destroy the whole earth with a flood again, then sent a rainbow as a symbol of his promise. In today's Bible story, we will learn about another promise God made, and we can look to the sky once again to remember that promise. You'll learn about this story in Genesis chapter 15, verses 1 through 7. Allow me to introduce you to a man named Abraham and his wife, Sarah. God had blessed Abraham with many things, and he was quite wealthy. But there was one thing that Abraham and Sarah still didn't have: a child. Abraham and Sarah were getting pretty old, and they still didn't have any kids. Abraham was 75 years old when he asked God, "Hey, what good are all these blessings you've given me if I have no children to pass them on to?" So God made a covenant or promise to Abraham. God said to Abraham, "I will give you as many descendants as stars in the sky. There will be too many to count." God always keeps his promises. So Abraham and Sarah waited. And waited, and waited for God's promise to come true, but they still didn't have a baby. They started to get impatient and lost some of their trust in God. They tried to take matters into their own hands. God had to have another talk with Abraham. 3 men appeared to Abraham. One of the men was God himself. Abraham quickly prepared a special meal for the 3 men. While they ate, God said to Abraham, "I'll surely return to you next year. By that time, your wife, Sarah, will have a son." Pause. Sarah was almost 90 years old. That's way too old to have a baby. Sarah was listening to the men's conversation and laughed. She thought to herself, "I'm old and my husband is old. How can we have a baby?" When God heard Sarah laugh, he said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for me?" Then he repeated his promise. "I will return next year and Sarah will have a son." And that's exactly what happened. Sarah became pregnant, and later that year she gave birth to a baby boy. Sarah said, "God has given me laughter. Everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." Abraham and Sarah named their son Isaac, which means laughter. Isaac grew up and had kids, and those kids had kids, and those kids had kids until God's promise to Abraham came true. There were so many people in Abraham's family that it equaled the stars in the sky. God's promises always come true. Just like the rainbow is a sign that God keeps his promises, we can look to the stars as a reminder as well. God fulfilled his promise to Abraham when it seemed like it would be impossible. Nothing is too hard for God. Joshua 21:45 says, "Not a word failed of any good thing which the Lord had spoken to the house of Israel. All came to pass." Joshua 21:45. This verse teaches us that everything God promised to Abraham and his family came true. Not one promise failed. All came to pass. And the same is true for us. In Isaiah 41:10, God promises to be with us and strengthen us. In Deuteronomy 31:8, God promises to never leave us. In Psalm 32:8, God says He will teach us and guide us. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says God's grace is enough for us and that His strength is made perfect in our weakness. 1 Peter 2:24 promises that Jesus' wounds can heal us. These promises are for us. And just as God kept His promise to Adam and Eve to one day send a Savior, and His promise to Noah to never flood the earth again, and His promise to Abraham to give him a son and many descendants, He will also keep His promises to us.